I guess should we just get into
today we'll be talking about two Spielberg movies, two quite epic, giant, massive, ambitious, and very sad and moving Spielberg movies, from one towards the beginning of the 90s, one towards the end. Schindler's List, starting with Schindler's List and AI.
That's right, yeah.
I think Schindler's List is maybe definitely a more mainstream one.
Yes, yeah.
Because, yeah, I don't think a lot of people, I think AI almost like isn't under the radar.
It for sure is.
Me.
I almost never think about it. Like, the reason I haven't seen it until now, I think, is just because there's not really any buzz about it still. I don't really hear people talking about it or bringing it up. And apparently it wasn't super well reviewed when it first came out, but over time it's been, highly regarded more. But, yeah, still under the radar.
Yeah, I feel like it's almost like a secret one, like a really mystery box Spielberg one. It's just... And, like, that's bound to happen when all his movies are so giant and hit everyone, and then he just keeps cranking them out at
so many movies.
Incredible rate, and the size never lets up. Like, probably post 80s Spielberg, he doesn't play it safe at all with the grandiose of his movie, because if you go down the decade, for instance, I've never seen Hook. I don't know about you, but that starts off the 90s.
As I was a young kid, Hook was probably in my top 5 favorite movies.
It's probably big.
It is pretty grandiose. Yeah, Dustin Hoffman is in it.
Okay, so there we go.
It was like peak Robin Williams and Dustin Hoffman. Yeah,
I should really fucking see it.
It's weird, but
then we got
I
in the
love
same
it,
year Jurassic Park and Schindler's List.
It's the same year,
which
Those
is
came
pretty.
Out?
Yeah, and this is a stat. This is just a fact I knew before I saw Schindler's List, but even just knowing that both these films came out the same year, I'm like, that's, fucking crazy. Without even having experienced Schindler's List, I was like, how the fuck do you make both these movies at the same time?
It's nuts.
Yeah.
And especially, like, we were just talking in our other episodes too, like, what Minority Report and something else were, like, came out in the same year. And then Munich and War of the Worlds came out in the same year.
Munich and War of the Worlds are in the same year. And then Catch Me If You Can, Minority Report are in the same year. And as we said with Catch Me If You Can and Minority Report, those are both incredible movies. Also, very big, very grandiose, a lot of scenes. And Munich and War of the Worlds. Munich is huge. War of the Worlds definitely uses a lot of green screen, but there's some killer set design in that movie, and as I think we talked about this, the first 20 minutes are unreal.
Yeah. It's on a really huge scale too.
Yeah, and another thing I'm noticing is that Spielberg's movies are just they are paced to just, I don't know. I can't think some metaphor for tightness and to the
so
point,
tight.
and tightness, like a screw to the screw. Yeah, and it's kind of in a way where I've thought about it. Like while I watch a Martin Scorsese movie, I'll think like, holy shit, this movie is paced incredibly, and also every shot is really intricately crafted at the same time, and everything is perfect here. And I'm realizing, since I haven't gushed over Spielberg in my the past few years, nearly not even close to the amount of times I've gushed over Scorsese. I'm now realizing I'm late. I'm realizing how late I am on gushing over Spielberg as his craft as a director, because I'm watching it and I'm just like fucking blown out of my mind every time.
Yeah, I almost feel like he doesn't get the respect he deserves sometimes from, I guess, maybe the film community, but because he became so big in a way. Yeah. And I definitely had just kind of
because he's seen as like a mainstream blockbuster escapist guy and not an artist per se, which I don't know, to say that he isn't, especially after the two films we watched for this weekend. To say he's not like an artist would be just it would be blasphemy. Straight out blasphemy.
And since we've done this, I've been getting much more into I guess the craft of his directing, like you said, and I love a good YouTube video essay, and there's some great ones on Spielberg. and it's making me think oh no, this guy is like a genius. Like he's not just some hack.
yeah, exactly.
He knows what he's doing.
Right. Yeah, I totally had I was telling you when I wanted to do this series, I wanted to rediscover Spielberg because I had a phase of where I was really obsessed with just, like Paul Thomas Anderson, John Cassavetes, and like Jim Jarmusch and Nicholas Ray and fucking Abel Ferreira and guys like that. And so I was really into just the dark, like almost, you could almost say sometimes anti-Spielbergian cinema, just very dark and cynical and art house like. Not always cynical, but in comparison to say Jurassic Park and Jaws, I would literally I would downgrade Spielberg when I was in those days, because I'm like, nope, he doesn't make he didn't make Rebel Without a Cause, he didn't make There Will Be Blood, shit like that, what I'm saying is
he's making amusement park movies.
I've changed and I am very into Spielberg this summer.
Yeah, you need a little bit of both.
Exactly.
You need that variety. Should we get into each of these movies one by one now?
Yes,
to get
we
to the nitty-gritty.
We definitely shouldn't get into both of them at the same time. There's too much to talk about.
That's a lot. Yeah. Do you wanna start with? We both watched Schindler's List more recently. Do we want to start with that, or do we want to save that?
I don't know, dude. They're both really I think they're both daunting to try to talk about. So
right, they are. Yeah.
I almost don't know.
Let's start with AI. All right. It's just a gut feeling I'm getting. Yeah.
I don't even want to talk about Schindler's List. Actually,
I want to put it off.
As a matter of fact,
much
we
as
didn't watch Schindler's List.
Yeah. Just gonna keep putting off my feelings. Yeah.
As a matter of fact, we didn't watch either of these movies.
No. Yeah, we watched Nick Ray and Jim Jarmusch instead. No.
But anyways, AI.
Yes.
Is a 2-hour and 26 film. Actually, this movie is not made in the 90s. It's made in 2001. Very ironic, in fact.
Oh, I thought this was mid-90s. Yeah.
It was made in 2001, and I think that holds some significance because this source material was essentially, and I think maybe some of the sets was given to Spielberg by Kubrick, I think.
I was reading that
this was a passed down film.
Right, yeah, that's what I was reading, that this was sort of Kubrick's that had gotten past the Spielberg, and then there was some tension between between them. Apparently, I'm not sure, but yeah,
Probably they're huge directors. But I think Kubrick passes away. Spielberg makes this as an ode to Stanley Kubrick, and made in 2001, the same as the movie that essentially was probably studied a lot while making this movie.
Yeah, for sure. And I honestly, having very little known about AI going into it, I did not realize how sort of dark and moving it would be. I genuinely thought this was more of like a Spielberg futuristic, movie just about artificial intelligence in general and I guess humanity, and which there is a lot of that, but it's much more heartbreaking, having to do with this mother-son dynamic, and with Haley Joel Osment playing the fake kid, the robot kid, and I thought Haley Joel Osment was like amazing in this.
I did too. I did too. Like, he's also in, I think maybe he did The Sixth Sense before this.
I think that was in the 90s.
1999, and he's really good in that too. Also, I'm a big Secondhand Lines fan. I don't know if you've ever seen that.
I don't think I have. No.
All right, it's not worth even like getting into yet. It's Robert Duvall and Michael Caine and Haley Joel Osment. It's Haley Joel Osment goes off to live with his uncles, who are played by Michael Caine and Robert Duvall.
Wow, that sounds amazing.
When you're a kid, it sure is. It was like amazing.
Oh wait, I think I have seen this.
Yeah. I feel like most kids did, so I was kind of surprised when.
Oh, I've totally seen this. I saw this in the theaters. Yeah.
So that's cool that you saw Secondhand Lines in theaters.
Yeah, I remember seeing that in the theaters with my family. Yeah.
It's a
great family flick from the early 2000s.
It is. I watch with my family all the time.
Yeah, wow, I'm glad you brought that back to my conscious.
It's pretty key. But so anyways, I'm a familiar Haley Joel Osment guy. And I think he is great in The Sixth Sense. But I thought he was significantly better to me. I thought he was given a more sophisticated vehicle, if you will, and a more like Spielberg knew like what he wanted to get out of him. I think like all the beats, like where he's creepy, where you don't understand him, where you do understand him, where you feel his sadness, and then you end up feeling his significance. I thought for a child to hit all those beats in this movie is pretty insane. Because this movie the journey you go through it with him in this movie is basically like this movie's definition of humanity and all that stuff, and everything that this movie has to say is done not necessarily through which is in a way why I think this movie's a little different from 2001: A Space Odyssey, when 2001: A Space Odyssey has kind of like grandiose like set pieces and stuff like that to go through its journey. I feel like a lot of AI is Haley Joel Osment's like acting, in fact, and his interactions with others and what he sees as he reacts and as he discovers the world around him and what it is the journey you go on through that. So that's why I think Haley Joel Osment is really I can't say enough how good he is in this for a child.
I mean, he really drives the whole thing too. The vast majority of the movie involves him. There's very few scenes where I feel like he's not in it. And he's so good at showing all the different like wide range of emotions, and when he's angry too, and he's like, I'm David. Like I was oh my god, Haley Joel Osment. Jeez, yeah. And
then when him and the kid their real son start having
a little shit from Lizzie
some
McGuire.
some little fights. You feel the real tension there, and that you always feel the terror when Haley Joel Osment is acting as well. He is a lot of times very creepy, to show how he's artificial.
For sure.
What do they call it in the world? Mackies? Mechanicals or whatever, like Macs, so they call them Mackies.
Mac somethings. Yeah, Mackies.
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah.
And then they call regular human beings orgies.
Yes, orgies. Yeah, and and it was so much darker and like full of meaning than I thought it would be too. Because at first, when that very first scene with the guy who created. Yeah, like David,
the boardroom. Yeah,
that I was a little worried then, because I thought it might be a little, I don't know, over dramatic or sappy or something, and the guy was like, "What if we can get robots to love?" And then I was like, "Oh, I don't know if I'm gonna be into this." But then it totally, right after that scene, I don't know, completely changed for me, and I realized what it actually is, and. Yeah, really heartbreaking.
The whole opening with David and his mother, I was very much locked in, like, immediately. I was like, holy shit, this film is crazy. Just immediately.
Yeah, and I mean, once you get to the ending, too, it's... I don't know, it gives you one of those feelings that just you need to, like, sit back and take it in.
For sure.
In what you just saw for 2.5 hours.
Yeah, it's a lot to process as is, and it's a very surprising ending, I think.
Yeah.
And a very out there ending also. Because I think on one end it's like very, it takes the corny route of being like, it disguises itself in like the corny route of being like, all right, there he is, he got his, to be with his mother and be loved again. But then again, it's after all this has happened, after he's unfrozen and they're trying to study him, and they're trying to discover what humanity was through him. And also, aren't they implanting that idea in his mind or whatever, or just giving him that?
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
It's art, so that whole experience is artificial.
Yeah, it's not real, but to him it is.
So it's a very corny, like, happy ending, but it's very much disguised in that, and it's really, really fucking, like, actually it's really dark and brutal.
Yeah.
It's like probably one of the darkest, arguably like the darkest Spielberg ending ever.
Really is. Yeah, because
and probably not understood very much by the public.
Yeah, for sure.
I feel like a lot of parts of this movie probably weren't as understood by the public.
Yeah, that is. I'm glad you brought up that ending too, because that is super dark when you really think of the reality of all of it, and how it plays into what happens earlier in the movie too. And Haley Joel Osment has such a desire to become, real.
Yeah, the whole Pinocchio illusions throughout. I really thought they were great.
Yeah,
Yeah. And there's a scene where Haley Joel Osment is or David is watching his mother, give her real son, tell the real son the story of Pinocchio, and like she's reading him the ending in his bed, and Haley Joel Osment's like hearing it for this first time, and you could tell he's just enamored, and like it's a feeling I remember, because every kid's had that exact moment where they're mind blown by Pinocchio.
Yeah.
Like, for sure, I feel like we all have, so I feel like that's a very real moment that the movie taps into, and Haley Joel Osment is able to tap into. Yeah. I mean, there's lots of moments like that are just great, very small moments.
Yeah. No, yeah, AI really surprised me. I don't know too much more to say about it. It definitely is. It pulls the heartstrings, as they say.
Yeah. And I will say, I don't know about you, but I've been shuffling around my my Spielberg rankings around.
As have I. Yeah.
All right, so maybe this is a thing that will go on the Letterboxd page.
Oh yeah, for sure.
For all to see, for all who are anxious to see our lists.
Yes.
Our many lists. We have
Cinebums
many
on Letterboxd. Yes.
Yeah. So I put this at number 6 on my Spielberg list.
Wow, that's.
It's after Raiders, but it's over Jaws for me. It's over Jaws and Minority Report.
That's pretty huge.
Yeah,
wow.
No, I really liked it, and I thought it was really unique and really amazing. And I think I said this at the beginning of talking about it. I think it should be talked about more. I'm just like really surprised that this movie isn't as talked about as something like. Well, I mean, I don't know. Maybe I do. But like I was about to say, that's not talked about as much as Jurassic Park. You know, like why aren't there AI rides and
yeah. Oh,
Universal?
That would be such a fun ride at Universal. Yeah, everyone.
But
just
actually,
comes out
I don't
crying.
think it would be under Universal because this is a DreamWorks movie.
DreamWorks.
Because if you think about it, there's a I just realized that post Schindler's List, I believe, is all DreamWorks, or post Lost World.
That makes sense.
All DreamWorks. So
I think they just started DreamWorks around that time. So that would make
so
sense.
like our episode last week was all DreamWorks, for instance, like Minority Report, Munich, War of the Worlds.
Interesting. Yeah, so AI is 11th on my list, which sounds bad, but I mean it's in good company. It's right behind Minority Report. And Catch Me If You Can. But yeah, it's I don't know. It really only gets bad on the Spielberg list when you get down to like the bottom 2, which is like Ready Player One and The Terminal. But I've definitely been doing some shifting around, and
you gotta shift around.
At the end of the summer, I think after we complete our Spielberg miniseries, I think I'll have a good idea of my like definitive list.
Yeah, so I say maybe we should just keep updating on our list's evolution, and then by the final week it'll be set in stone. Yeah.
I think that's a great idea.
Hell yeah. Oh yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah. Well, cheers to that, man. Yeah.
Hell of a beer to that.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I guess should we
all right, yeah, let's just get it. Let's just get into it.
Rip it off like a Band-Aid. Yeah.
Just do it. Just do it.
Just do it.
Yeah. So I believe yesterday John watched it. Tonight I watched Schindler's List, both for the first time.
Yes, for the very first time. And I could say that Carly and I have been wanting to watch this for years, and it's sort of the thing that you put off because you know of the story, so
it's
you know
like
how sad it's going to be.
Devastating.
Yeah. And we had planned to watch, like the first half of it last night and the rest of it this morning, and we ended up watching the whole thing straight through, which I am so glad we did. But we didn't even plan on. It just happened because we were. Just so enamored by it. But
because did you watch AI yesterday too?
Yeah, I watched AI earlier.
So that's basically a 3-hour movie. So I can see why you're like, I don't know if I could finish a whole nother 3-hour movie.
Exactly. Yeah, and there's probably a lot of 3-hour movies that I wouldn't have gotten through, but my first viewing of Schindler's List, and I really loved it. It also it moved me in the ways that I knew it would, but it's been a while since I've watched a movie that made me feel the way that I did after seeing this. I don't know, give me all this like genuine like sadness, but also appreciation before the movie.
Right.
Yeah, it's just been a while since I've watched a movie that really moved me that much.
Yeah. I'll piggyback off that by saying like that I have not watched a movie in a while that really I felt like demanded my attention this much.
Mm-hmm.
And I was definitely, man, I was so hesitant on I wasn't hesitant on actually watching, but I started it even. I was like holy shit, am I like ready, for this? Like, I'm like, oh man, I'm not in the right state of mind. I have to be in the right state of mind or something like that. But it really, I don't know. It wasn't. I don't know. You just expect to be seeing fucked up shit like mindlessly and just them milking away at the sadness. And obviously there is a lot of messed up shit in this movie, and there's a lot of violence, and there's a lot of despair and hate. But I don't think it's really like that's like everything in the movie like at all. I think there's so much else driving at it, and so much there's so much like strong deep narrative it's building, and there's so much beautiful filmmaking at work here, and such and just it's just such a amazing story with such layered characters, and on top of a depiction of like horror and also like an event that we all know to be one of the most horrific events in history. Like on top of that, this is just like a really like amazing film that I guess I didn't think about when going into, because I just think I'm like, oh man, it's gonna be like really sad to watch. And basically I was immediately like convinced as I started. I'm like, wait, oh shit. And I'm like, this is like amazing film. This is an amazing movie. Like I could tell like right away. And I was like, why the fuck haven't I should have watched this years ago. And and it was a very easy three and a. I mean, easy's almost a wrong word to use, but like you said with you and Carly, I was very much engrossed the whole time, and this movie very much demands your attention throughout.
I mean, it's weird to talk about this movie in certain ways.
It's weird to say that you like enjoyed it.
Yeah, and I hate when people do this, because I have heard people do this. They brag about like, oh, I've been to Auschwitz and it was just brutal to be there, and like I did this and this. I
felt like all of it.
Yeah, so I hate that, but I did, when I was studying in Germany, we did go to Buchenwald, which is a concentration camp, and I'm not saying I'm better than anyone else because I've been there. I was just there on a school or a college class trip, but it is the sort of thing that, like Schindler's List, people ask you how it is, you can't say it was good. Like it's not good. It's like terrible and horrible to see, but it's like an important thing still.
Yeah, and it's not a thing where it just it's very I don't know, you get a lot out of it. I don't know. There's something about seeing all of this go down. Cause there's like, I feel like this movie is it's two things. It's like, one, it's a character study of like Oskar Schindler, and then the rest is like a bunch of concentration camp dreadful B-roll, if like just compiled, juxtaposed with Oskar Schindler's I mean, especially the first half, a lot of it is that juxtaposed with Oskar Schindler, like reaping the benefits of, like, just being a capitalist, basically.
Yeah.
And I think just that, just that juxtaposition is extremely powerful, like throughout.
Yeah.
And eventually building towards him coming up with his plan to help these people and get them out and get them back to work for him.
Yeah.
It just builds so strongly and so intelligently, and you just feel it the whole way through.
Yeah, and that's part of the reason why I think it's such a great movie too, because it's not just a historical drama, depicting these specific events that happened. It really gets into the characters a lot, especially Schindler, showing his flaws and how he really was like in it for the money in the beginning.
Yeah, at the beginning he really doesn't care, and
very selfish. Yeah,
and he's very much he's very much a part of the world, like of the oppressor, and it was like it's his like moral compass eventually, like, and because he has to he has to so meticulously plan to get them back, because he doesn't want to be captured himself, you know what I mean? So he has to like play the system in order to get them back. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was very clever. Also, even Ralph Fiennes, the villain, is like a really layered character. Like, probably one of the most brutal people in movies.
Ray Fiennes.
Yeah.
Ray Fiennes. Yeah, he was so good at being just the most like despicable type person. Really, really hateable, but also I don't know, such an enthralling character because of how power hungry he is.
He also seemed like really self-tortured and very like insecure.
Which is where he's like power hunger
and weird with women. He's like jealous of Oscar Schindler's.
He's with a woman all the time.
Yeah. They're all very good looking.
Yeah. And
he kisses her right on the lips. Yeah. And Oscar Schindler's just kissing her because he's, he really wants to save her, and he wants to, break her free. But then you see Ray Fiennes, and he's just jealous of the fact that he's kissing one of his prisoners.
Yeah.
Because he has a weird sexual attraction to all the prisoners, but yet, he's, I don't know, he has like a repressed sexuality to him.
Yeah, he's almost like an incel nowadays. But and then that scene following that kiss where he's with his, I guess, I don't know, whoever's next in line ahead of him, and he's sort of getting a talking to. He seems very incompetent and nervous, and
totally.
He just seems like a buffoon in that,
like not a real officer. He just like manages this concentration camp and feels bad about himself, and that's why he is even like definitely way worse to these people than he should be. Yeah. So
it helps you see that he's not just this sadistic. Crazed, inhuman person.
Seeing that trouble is very, and like the trouble and maybe the reason, like, not the to give him any of them a pass for hate, but show like reasons for hate.
That this is stemming from something else, that it's not just this sort of thing doesn't just come out of nowhere. It definitely shows a lot of humanity in everyone. I feel like this is a really difficult movie to make as well as Spielberg did, because it's such a touchy subject. Yeah,
I think to a degree there was times where I was watching it where I was like, man, objectively, like, this has to be his best film, right? Like, that's what I was thinking. I'm like, this film is such a fucking masterpiece. Like, it's not even fair. Like, and how significant it is at the same time.
Yeah.
But I put it at number 2 behind Jurassic Park.
Yeah, I think I have it at maybe number 3, just behind a couple, just for personal movie watching entertainment purposes. Yeah, I have it behind Raiders and Jurassic Park. Yeah,
not to diminish at all how fulfilled I feel from just watching it, having seen it, because I haven't been felt like I watched a movie that was this important and significant and memorable, I think, in a while.
Yeah, absolutely, same here. That's why I'm mad at myself that it took me this long. Yeah,
and I think it's also like in a different way than like other Spielberg films. I think it's one that, you know, definitely should be watched every so often, for sure. Like it's just really fucking great.
Yeah. I honestly thought that this would be one that I would see once and then never want to see again.
Yeah,
but
same. I would totally watch it again. Watch it again.
Yeah, and I think because it made me feel something, and I could tell that it's an important piece of work.
People just talk about how like fucked up it is mainly, but they don't really talk about how beautiful the film is.
Yeah.
Like even like the cover of the film is insane, where it shows his hand grabbing the hand of the little girl in the red coat.
Yeah.
She's the only person who has any color on her in the entire film. You see her multiple times. You see like her body brutalized. It's just like the imagery in this movie. I think the beautiful imagery, I think, is not talked about in the mainstream audience a lot, because there is so much insane imagery. Like, you remember the scene where the kids all leave the concentration camp on those trucks, and they're waving goodbye, and they're like laughing because they put on that music
is playing.
They put on that music for them. All the moms just start running. Yeah, just like imagery like that is like so powerful that as powerful as imagery in film gets.
That moment was especially heart-wrenching because it's amidst all this just like horror, all of a sudden there's like this children's song playing, the kids are going, and all of a sudden it quickly shifts from you hearing this music and the kids like cheering in a way to just the sound of all their parents screaming in terror and chasing after them. Yeah, that one, we like audibly were like shook. By that.
Yeah, there's so much great imagery. I almost wish I made a list of it.
Yeah, same. I wish you did too. Yeah,
it's so ironic that make my imagery list of
Luke's list,
Schindler's List. Yeah, Luke's list. Luke's Schindler's List. But yeah, because when I saw that scene, I was like, "Holy shit, this is crazy!" Like, I should be writing these ones down to remember them, because there's others too.
There's so many more. Right. Yeah.
Because like we said with Spielberg, did I say this? Maybe I was gonna say it, or I wanted to say it, or I did. The pacing in Spielberg's movies is incredible.
Oh, and tight. Yeah.
The pace, tight spacing, like a screw, like a screwdriver. And this movie is no different. In this well-paced film, you see twice as much amazing imagery as you would from a normal director, and especially with this subject matter and the construction at hand, you just see a lot of incredible shit in this movie.
And I think
a lot of daring shit.
Yeah, and also sort of unrelated, but I think it also does a great job of intertwining sort of the different stories or the different backgrounds of some of the people that Schindler employed throughout. You see in the beginning as they're, during the liquidation, I think they called it, so they're going through the ghetto. You start to meet these characters, and then throughout the story, they're always intertwined. Like Danka and her mom, and I think it did a really good job of showcasing that too. So it wasn't just about Schindler and what he did, but also showed the side of the Jews who were, just taken out of their homes and thrown into this situation. And and then that scene towards the end when Schindler is giving his speech to everyone about the war being over.
I specifically liked when he just talked to the soldiers and he's like, you could kill them or you could be men, and just go home and not be murderers. And he really handled every time he spoke to the soldiers well. Like, it's just, I don't know, it just becomes like Schindler for the audience just becomes just the hero for the audience. Like, you just feel this relief when he goes up to the soldiers and he's like, there will be no soldiers in the factories to enforce these rules. We're not interfering with the labor going on here. And then he just I actually like laughed when he gave them a bunch of alcohol after. They're like, okay, we will do whatever you say. You know what I mean? Like,
he starts out, bribing people to get what he wants so that he can continue to build his business and make money, and in the end it turns into bribing people to keep people safe. And that I just got goosebumps again thinking of that scene when he tells the soldiers, here they are, they're right here, who you wanted, and you can either be men and go back home, or that scene in particular at the end just really stood out to me. And then right from then it pretty much goes into the real life survivors with the actor who played them leaving the stones on his grave, which is super heart-wrenching. Going into color and wow. I definitely will be rewatching Schindler's List some point in the near future. I was enthralled. I must say. And another scene I just remembered too. There was of course a lot of just genuine tension. If you have any sort of knowledge, which most adult people do, any sort of knowledge of the Holocaust and what the Nazis did to exterminate the Jews.
I know where you're going at. And you're going at like the shower scene.
Yes, that when they bring the women into the showers, that was extremely tense. Yeah. Just knowing what we learned from the little bits of history, class that we get growing up.
Yeah. Also, when Ray Fiennes, his gun gets jammed.
Oh yes, another one. Yeah. That whole scene there, there's so many moments where you think that it's you can just see where it's going, and it doesn't go there, but still has that same effect. There's something else that I just remembered too, but I can't think of it now. Yeah. I don't know, but
such a masterpiece. If there
so much to say,
if there ever was one.
And I do think there's also parallels that you can draw to its day, because in the beginning I think Schindler's this character, he's in the Nazi party, and of course, not all Germans back in the day were bad people. Yeah, he maybe wasn't, he's not as bad as the the SS officers or anything being in the Nazi party, but just being more aloof and not being an ally to the Jews is still a problem. And I think that's still like always.
Yeah, he was like,
I just because he wasn't, he would employ them, and then it blossomed into.
He didn't realize he didn't even realize he was just using them for work. He did not realize at all that he was helping them in any way. It was almost like an accident. And he's just like drinking cognac all the time, going like, so will business still be good? And he's like, as long as there's a war. And he's like, okay. Great. And I'm like, when I saw that, I'm like, oh, okay, so he's obviously going to have a change here, because right now he's like a kind of a rich douchebag.
Yeah.
And does not care about the Jews at all. So obviously that's going to change from what I know about this movie.
Yeah, right. And then in the end, when he's sobbing and talking to Ben Kingsley and just saying, I could have done more, and I could have saved so much more.
The realization of like how much he's had mixed with how much, like, he sees how much he's owned to like how much a person's worth now. So he just like feels that. That's a scene I like knew about because of it was spoofed in Seinfeld. So I've known about that scene for a while. But yeah, like, so I mainly know it for Seinfeld.
Is that the episode where they're like, you made out in Schindler's List or something like that?
Yeah. And that one actor, I don't recall his name. I don't know the actor's name, but the guy's like obsessed with Jerry's parents for some reason.
Oh yeah.
And they like leave, they go in the airport, and he's like, I could have got them some. He's like, this watch, it was one more dinner I could have taken them out to. And it's like a really hilarious scene, but like when you think it in the context of like this movie and you're watching how emotional and moving that scene is, I think back towards that scene. I'm like, that's so fucking ridiculous that they did that they even did that. Like, but like that scene has brought me a lot of like, laughter and joy in my life. But then when you watch Schindler's List, you're like, okay, I get why this is so funny that they did that, because this movie is incredibly moving and like the whole all that stuff.
And I really think Spielberg didn't sugarcoat things. Maybe there were a few things, but I really feel like it was very real, and
apparently it was very real.
Apparently some countries wanted to ban it because of the nudity, and he said, or they wanted to censor it, but he said, if you're going to censor any of it, then just ban it, because you need to see the movie in the way it's meant to be seen, because this was a real thing that happened, and we should reflect on that and actually accept that this is something that happened, and it's part of humanity's history.
Yeah, I think that, like, if anyone's going to call Spielberg, like, a fluffy, like, blockbuster director with not a lot of depth, I feel like you could easily, like, turn it on him and show them this film. And they'd be, like, immediately, like you said, it's, like, feels super real constantly, and, I think it would turn it on him.
Yeah, for sure, hands down, yeah. I guess I don't have
that's Schindler's List.
Much more to say. That's Schindler's List. But genuinely glad that I finally saw it. And if you haven't seen it, then hopefully this is your boost to do so.
I think it's on the IMDb 250. And
for sure.
One thing, so why I'm bringing that up is because like, I'm not a fan of the IMDb 250, but I like when I look at that list, there's a lot of them I'd be like, all right, we could take that off.
Yes.
Like this top, how far this is up the list. Especially, sometimes in the top 10, even I would. A few in the top 10 I would take out.
I mean, Joker is in the top 100.
And
in Avengers Infinity War.
Everyone knows what we think about both of those films. But Schindler's List at number 6 is one of the few things I am okay with as like saying it's one of the best films ever, for sure.
And Carly and I are actually, we've since we were dating, we've been going through the IMDb 250 as sort of a look into like pop culture, and there's many that we've passed up or just been shocked as to what's on here, such as Joker or Avengers Infinity War. But but then you'll see ones that really make sense for them being there, like Schindler's List in the top 10.
Yeah, because when I think of Schindler's List now, I think of it as a top tier, must see movie.
Yeah.
In that category.
And I mean, there's a lot of ridiculous things